Hello, this is Jamie Mitchell, and we are back with another episode of the Libertarian Uncensored podcast, going over all the posts on Libertarian Uncensored subreddit. Let's get right into it. So first we have Level of Satisfaction and Regret with Gender-Affirming Medical Care in Adolescence, original title from JammaNetwork.com by Doctor Who 07. And yeah, they're saying that the study is being used to say that pretty much no adolescents regret undergoing gender affirming care, but they're still pretty young, so maybe they haven't ever really had too much time to regret. I think that's important to note, and it's also going to be used to justify sex change surgeries for children, and that's not something that I personally think kids can consent to, and that's my thoughts on that issue. And we have sweeping blackouts in Cuba raise the question, why has the island's solar build-out been so slow? From finance.yahoo.com by Ninja Lover. And yeah, I personally think it's because of Cuba's socialist, communist, whatever you want to call them, government. But regardless, whenever it comes to Cuba or any socialist or communist country, the people always have an excuse to why socialism and communism failed there. It's in Cuba's case, they always go, "Oh, it's the U.S. trade embargo. If it wasn't for that, then they'd be successful." And at some point, you have to recognize that it's just a failed system, rather than just keep finding excuses for them. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have a great quote from Ragnar OKXD, and that's a tweet from Rohan Talbot, who tweeted, "No economist will ever come up with a better description of why being poor is so expensive than Terry Pratchett." It's such a great quote, and they shared a quote from a book. Take boots, for example. He earned $38 a month less in allowances. A really good pair of leather boots cost $50, but an affordable pair of boots, which were sort of okay for a season or two, and then looked like hell when the cardboard gave out, cost about $10. Those were the kind of boots Vimes always bought and wore until the soles were so thin that he could tell where he was in Ankh-Morpork Park or a foggy night by the feel of the cobbles. But the thing was that good boots lasted for years and years. A man who could afford $50 at a pair of boots said still be keeping his feet dry in 10 years' time, while a poor man who could only afford cheap boots would have spent $100 in boots in the same time and would still have wet feet. This was the Captain Samuel Vim's boots theory of socioeconomic unfairness. And I guess that makes sense. That's why some products are more expensive than others, and why people are willing to pay more for them. And I guess I would agree with that. Sometimes you can be trapped in a cycle of poverty just because you don't have enough money to pay for good products. And I think that's a good. I would agree with that. Yeah. Then we have Missouri Attorney General argues abortion pill will hurt the state by lowering teen pregnancies, from stlpr.org by Donald Key. And yeah, I think if teens want to take an abortion, it's easy for people to do so. But if you want to think teen pregnancy is a good thing, and I guess you should be able to. With that being said, I definitely think this is kind of a straw man argument against the pro-life side. And you definitely see that a lot. It's not, even if you do think abortion is a woman should be able to do an abortion if she wants to. These days, that's not enough. You need to think abortion is the greatest thing ever, or they'll come after you for it. And that's my thoughts on that issue. And we have U.S. study on puberty blockers goes unpublished because of politics, doctor says, from Lemon Limelight. And they said, from the New York Times, U.S. study on puberty blockers goes unpublished because of politics, doctor says. And it's some paragraphs from an article. Influential doctor and advocate of adolescent gender treatment said she had not published a long-awaited study on puberty-blocking drugs because of the change charged American political environment. The Dr. Joanna Olson Kennedy began studying in 2015 as part of a broader multi-million-dollar federal project on transgender youth. She and colleagues recruited 95 children from across the country and gave them puberty blockers, which stave off permanent physical changes like breast or deepening voice that could exacerbate their gender distress, known as dysphoria. The researchers followed the children for 2 years to see if the treatments improved their mental health. An older Dutch study had found that puberty blockers improved well-being, results that inspired clinics around the world to regularly prescribe medications as part of what is now called gender-affirming care. But the American trial did not find a similar trend. Dr. Olson Kennedy said in a wide-ranging interview, puberty blockers did not lead to mental health improvements, she said, most likely because the children were already doing well when the study began. They're in really good shape when they come in, and they're in really good shape after 2 years. It's Dr. Olson Kennedy, who runs the country's largest Youth Gender Clinic at the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. The conclusion seemed to contradict an earlier description of the group, in which Dr. Olsen had her colleagues noted that one quarter of the adolescents were depressed or suicidal before treatment. In the 9 years since the study was funded by the National Institute of Health, and as medical care for the small group of adolescents became a searing issue in American politics, Dr. Olsen Kennedy's team has not published the data. Asked why, she said the findings might fuel the kind of political attacks that have led to bans of these gender treatments in more than 20 states, one of which will soon be considered by the Supreme Court. I do not want our work to be weaponized, she said. It has to be exactly on point, clear and concise, and that takes time. She said she intends to post the data, but the team has also been delayed because the NIH had cut some of the project's funding. She attributed that cut to politics, but the NIH denied the broader project has received $9.7 million in government support to date. Dr. Olsen Kennedy is one of the country's most vocal advocates of adolescent gender treatments and has served as an expert witness in many legal challenges to state bans. She said she was concerned that the study's results could be used in court to argue that we shouldn't use blockers because it doesn't impact them, referring to transgender adolescents. And yeah, that just goes to show you that, science is increasingly just a tool that's used to push narratives and nothing else. It's the same with the other study on preview blockers that we talked about, that I talked about earlier from the subreddit. And yeah, that's why you shouldn't just use science as a tool to push your agenda, but that's increasingly what it's being used for, and that's why increasingly less and less people trust it or view it as partisan. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Fox News edited Trump's rambling answers and false claims in barbershop interview, full video shows from CNN.com by Swamp Yankee Dan. And yeah, I personally don't think they should be doing that. I think they shouldn't be editing interviews. But 60 Minutes edited Kamala's interview, and people who are attacking Trump for this would never attack Kamala for that. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Liberty for All from CH4Locks, and that's crossovers from the Libertarian Unity subreddit, and it says "Make Love Not War," and it's the guy in the color of the ANCOM flag and the guy in the color of the ANCAP flag kissing. And yeah, I personally disagree with the ANCOM, the anarcho-communists on some stuff, but I definitely do think if as long as you want to keep it to yourself and not force your stuff on me, you should be able to do whatever you want. I think that's, the anarch part, just let everyone do what they want. If they want to form a voluntary communist collective, I think they should be able to. Just don't push it on me. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Support Capitalism from Funcal321, and that's a quote from that's from the Online Library of Liberty, and it says, the Austrian-American free market economist Ludwig von Mises left Switzerland during World War II, and after arriving in the U.S., Mises began writing books which criticized government control and intervention in the economy, particularly price controls and rationing. Mises explains that when governments impose price controls to artificially lower prices, it leads to unintended consequences, disrupting the balance between supply and demand. As he famously said, the government does not want only those to buy who come first. Will others go home empty-handed? It must regulate the distribution of the stocks available. It has to introduce some kind of rationing. And that's from the Online Library of Liberty. And yeah, I definitely do think, price controls might be well-intentioned, but I definitely don't think they're libertarian, and since they go against the free market. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Support the Mises Caucus from Funcal321, and that's an image they shared of Ludwig von Mises, Socialism, Price Control, with Ludwig von Mises, that's also from Educate Freedom. And yeah, I personally don't agree with Mises Caucus and everything, but I definitely do agree that, that Ludwig von Mises was right again about socialism and price controls being bad. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have I'm Not Telling here to Tell People What to Do by Handsome Miles, and they said, but interacting with that stupid fucking karma bot makes you look like a fucking idiot, and that was their response to the previous two posts from that Funcal321 that everyone thinks they're a bot. But if people want to interact with whoever they want to interact with, they should be able to. And I think if you want to say they're an idiot for interacting with them, then you should be able to say that as well. So I would agree with that, and that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Why Not Make Ranked Choice Voting the Norm by Lemon Limelight, and they said, from a Washington Post opinion piece, why not make ranked choice voting the norm? And they have three paragraphs from the article. Under the ranked choice voting, voters don't just choose one candidate for office, they list candidates from their first choice to their least favorite. It's the ranking. Fans of ranked choice say this approach has two key virtues. It more accurately reflects voters' true preferences and incentivizes candidates to appeal to a broader swath of the electorate. They swear it shares a few more paragraphs, and they at the end, ultimately, the comment suggests giving ranked choice voting a try because it doesn't advantage one party over another, but doesn't jolt the status quo, which is usually better than doing nothing. But also says tweaking one aspect of election administration won't change much. So does ranked choice voting be implemented more widely? Are there arguments for or against ranked choice voting missing here? And yeah, I personally like ranked choice voting. With that being said, it's never going to be implemented soon because it poses too much of a threat to the status quo, and both major parties don't want any changes to the status quo. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have unidentified bystanders in war zones are seen as guilty until proven innocent from Cymex.org by HarryCut9721. And yeah, I definitely think that's not good, but sadly that's the way the world works sometimes. That's why we gotta stop war before it starts, I would say. Then we have colleges and anti-LGBTQ plus states are losing students and there's nothing they can do. A poll found that Texas was the state most likely to be excluded from the college churches because of issues like abortion and DEI bans from LGBTQNation.com by Neat Concussions, and that's across from the LGBT subreddit. And yeah, personally, I think the whole college system is collapsing. I think soon only the large state universities and the Ivy League are going to survive in the long term, and that's my fault on that issue. And yeah, I just definitely think this is. Other than that, I think this is just trying to push a narrative that it's declining because of anti-LGBTQ. Well, that's not in reality why they're declining. They're declining because increasingly degrees are worthless and don't really help you get jobs anymore. Then we have doomed to fail. New report shows how charter schools harm students they reported help from TexasAFT.org by Neat Concussions. And yeah, of course that's going to be anti-charter school because it's from a teachers union website. So of course that they obviously are going to be very dead set on being anti-charter school. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have airline secret scheme to keep airfare prices high from Ninja Lover from More Perfect Union on YouTube. And they added, since partial deregulation, we've seen costs go up, the quality of service go down, the experience is at its lowest point ever, and we've gone from over 75 airlines down to 12. And I would agree with that. We need to have decentralized air travel, and right now, the increasing regulations mean it's increasingly centralized, and soon I think there'll probably only be like one or two big airlines, just like we have one or two. Well, just so we have two major parties. And we have U.S. police, third largest militarized force in the world, from boingboing.net by Banan Furtan. And yeah, I definitely don't think that's good. But ultimately, the U.S. is gonna fund what people want to fund, and people do like to fund police. And I personally don't really care for police and how they enforce laws on others. But if people want to fund them, that's why. That's what they want to do. And that's personally why I think we just gotta get rid of all this forced collectivism. If people want to fund the police, I think they should be able to. But I don't think people should be forced to fund the police if they don't want to. And that's my faults there. And I think we're gonna wrap it up there. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.